It's 5:00 somewhere. So you know what that means, right? Time for the Houston Texans happy hour, and I'm joined by none other than Coty M. Davis. We'll be back.
Hard work, hard work. Hard work, hard work. Hard work, work. There you go. Hard work, work. Everybody doing it right. Hard work, work, work. That's what you say. Hard work, work, work. Earn more pay. Hard work, work. Hard work, do it every day. Hard work, work. Get up out of 2:45. Hard work, work. Let me go and earn more pay. Hard work, work. Boots on and lace.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? You're tuning into the Sports Talk with Big Sarge show live on YouTube. Make sure you follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. And make sure you follow me on the Tick and the Talk. Hey, side note, I just found out that you can go live on TikTok. I did not know you could go live on TikTok. I knew it, but I didn't think about it because I just scrolled through it and I don't never really pay attention. But make sure you follow me at Big Sarge Media on the Tick and the Talk. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel at Big Sarge Media, and make sure you read all my articles at www.bigsargemedia.com. All right. Texas happy hour, so you know I had to get Coty M. Davis, host of Locked On Texans. Coty. Yeah, hey, look, hey, because we live, so I'm gonna let people see exactly how you and I interact. Okay,
you know why I started laughing?
Because I didn't say that last part.
Well, I know why you didn't say the laugh. I'm just saying, it seems like every day in the city of Houston, my titles get shorter and shorter and shorter, and I'm scared. Like within a month, it's just gonna be like that's Coty. They ain't gonna say M. Davis no more. It's just gonna be Coty. And then by next year, it's gonna be how you spell his name? Cody, right? Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, like you're gonna be in the city. They're gonna be like, you look so familiar to me. Where have I seen you before?
Oh man, my guy Khalil gonna be like, man, you used to be that guy who used to like Michael Vick, right? Yeah.
Hey, look, but for what it's worth, I did tell John Mechie today that you said hello.
Thank you. You know what? And I'm glad that you said that because I've been meaning to tell my guy John Mechie that goodbye. Those of you guys who don't know, John Mechie was one of my good friends in the locker room because he's a Michael Jackson fan. For those of you who know me, I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan as well. So we used to always be talking about that. So I appreciate you, man. Now you gotta tell CJ, Will, Tank, Nico. Who else I'm missing that's been there for a long time.
Hey, pump your brakes, Coty. All right, just hold on, pump your brakes, because I don't want them to look at me and be like, who? Hey, the little guy I used to hang out with the glasses, the bald head. Who? Because you know how they are. You know how they are. If they don't see, like they see you on a consistent basis, but you ain't been around in a minute, so you gotta read.
Yeah, I know.
Again.
When you said that, the first thing I thought of was you telling Nico you could be like, yeah, the guy with the glass. He was like, yeah, you right.
Hey, Coty, I'm glad you said that because listen, you're tuned to the Sports Talk with Big Sarge show live on YouTube. This is the happy hour. We're going to get into some Texans talk, but really, we just chopping it up. Hey, jump in the comments if you got questions, ask the questions. We just really chopping it up, bro. So, stop me if you heard this before. I ain't gonna say the name. I'm just gonna say his locker is on the corner as soon as you walk into the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you walk in to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, you talk to us today? I can't get y'all today because I gotta be treatment.
Yeah.
But I got you. I promise I got you tomorrow. You know what I told him? I told him? Because it was me and Chancellor standing there. I said, bro, you ain't got us tomorrow. I ain't gonna be able to talk to you till Sunday. He's like, I definitely got you Sunday. That's what he said. I definitely got you Sunday.
Always, man.
So as we're standing around, and wait, no, not we. I already knew he wasn't coming. People standing close to his locker waiting on him to come, and I was like,
he ain't never showed up.
He's like, hey, he gonna be in treatment till like 3:30.
No, wait. What time was open locker room?
1, I think we got in there about 1 something.
All right, so let's say for the sake of this argument, you get out around 140. Treatment is gonna be over for him at 147.
147, 140.
147.
Look, 142. He's gonna be walking out of training as soon as he find out this time was leave. We're gonna be walking out. He's gonna walk out of me. He didn't do that today, but he'll walk out and be like, I got y'all next time, big dog. I got y'all. I got y'all next time, big dog. So, man. So look, I was just laughing. It was hilarious. All right, Cody. Let's go ahead and jump into some of this week 1 Houston Texans season opener against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis. What is it? Lucas Oil Field, if I'm not mistaken.
Lucas Oil Stadium, my bad. So I will be traveling on Saturday. I will be there. Boots on ground.
Yeah, boots on ground. So I will be giving you all the live updates Sunday for the game. I just want to, real quickly, just give me your thoughts on what what are you expecting to see in this first game against the Indianapolis Colts?
To be honest, actually on both sides of the ball, because I think, at the end of the day, the Houston Texans and Indianapolis Colts, they both are going to have successful seasons. Just speaking to the Colts real quick, I think their success is going to be more so just getting Anthony Richardson adjusted to the speed of the NFL. I know a lot of people want to make fun of, how quote-unquote bad he looked during preseason. I watched his snaps too. Didn't really look that best, but a lot of people got to realize not only is he knocking off rust, he is trying to come back from an injury, and this is his rookie season 2.0 per se. So, I think towards middle to the end of last season, we're definitely going to see a better version of that team. But I also think we're going to see a better version of the Houston Texans as well. Now, what does success look like for this team right here? It's a little bit different these days. I'm just saying, I'm not going to be surprised if they represent the AFC in New Orleans. That's all I'm saying.
Wait, hold on.
I say I won't be surprised.
Hold on. Wait. Look, I don't mean to cut you off in your soliloquy, okay? But like I said, hey, let me tell y'all something. This is genuinely how we talk. Like we just went back and forth about
who was better, D-Wade or Harden.
Hey, look, and not only that, who did I say? Oh, I didn't know Jermaine O'Neal.
Oh, yeah, Jermaine O'Neal.
Here comes the little honey badger right here. So look, I know you moved into a new place, and I know your TV is only 37 inches. I get that part. So it's hard for you to watch TV sometimes. I know that you gotta, put it pretty soon you gotta go to Best Buy and get you two TVs to put together so you can see them run from the goal line to this 50 to from the 50 to the other goal line. So I get that part. Coach, you didn't watch the Baltimore Ravens play the Kansas City Chiefs last night?
Yeah, soon as you started talking, that's what made me think, I'm still not gonna be surprised, but path to New Orleans, if they have to go to Kansas City, or maybe Kansas City gotta go to Houston, it's gonna be a little,
Hey, didn't they get to the Super Bowl? Didn't they get to the Super Bowl playing on the road last year?
Yeah.
Bro, listen, let me tell you something about the Kansas City Chiefs. They can play at what's the SaberCat Stadium?
Oh, that's the SaberCat Stadium.
They can play at the SaberCat Stadium. They can play at a park in Cyprus. They can play on concrete, Cody. And that team right there will still win. Like, listen. I was just surprised. So look, I get what you're saying. Like I said, I didn't mean to cut you off in what you were saying. So yes, they are in like the top 3 to 5 teams that could represent the AFC, because there's going to be a surprise team, I think. But like, man, Kansas City just like,
yeah, no,
you got to beat and listen, you got to beat them. And when I say you got to beat them, like, you have to beat them.
Yeah, you do. And
we seen what happens when team think they got them beat with a lead. And
yeah, man, it's after watching Kansas City last night, I mean, like I told you earlier on the phone, part of me was sitting there, especially with them getting Xavier Worthy now. A part of me was like, I kind of feel like I'm watching Golden State and their dynasty back when they had KD. Like, it's just getting to the point where it's unfair. But to go back to the Houston Texans, man, what's the success look like for the Texans, whether it's New Orleans, whether it's finally getting to that conference championship game, them solely solidifying themselves as a legit contender, championship contender is what success is going to look like for this organization. Now going to Sunday's game, I think Sunday's game might be a little bit rocky for the Houston Texans as well, because I truly do believe that I think this is going to be the one time where we see CJ, where we see everybody else, try to, I'm not going to say struggle, but this is going to be a game and a perfect opportunity for them to see how they truly want to play with all of the talent that they have, that they got to make sure everybody's on one accord. I mean, look, I still like Stephon Diggs. I still think Stephon Diggs is a highly talented wide receiver in this league, but it's going to take him a while to get adjusted and get comfortable playing in the system with CJ Stroud, with the Houston Texans offense, even getting on the same place as the offensive coordinator in Bobby Sloyd. Same thing with Joe Mixon. I'm really interested to see how Joe Mixon is going to have an opportunity to incorporate himself, only because you're looking at it from a standpoint, you know this more than I do, unfortunately, now that Joe Mixon, missed a great deal of training camp.
Yeah, so did and so Stephon Diggs said on yesterday that he missed a lot of OTAs, and so it was CJ who caught him up.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I said this earlier today. I'm entering one of the keys to victory is that they have to establish that running game early. And by establishing that running game early, that means that Juice and Kenyon Green has to be on the same page, and Juice and Shaq Mason have to be on the same page, because they're going up against two very good defensive tackles in DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. But here's my thing, Cody. And listen, I know I made all that hoopla about the Kansas City Chiefs, but the one thing that I will say about the Houston Texans, and if they stay healthy, why I could see them represent the AFC in the Super Bowl in New Orleans, you have a room full of young guys who are not scared. I don't want to keep saying dog, because we know that's Laramie's word, but and it's a buzzword that's been overused a lot here locally. So I'm not going to use dogs, but these guys, these young guys, they're not afraid. They're like, it's no such thing as pressure to them, because you look at the people who are leading this team. Let's just start with CJ Stroud. I mean, being the quarterback of Ohio State, it's pressure, like he was under pressure as far as stepping into the big games. What, 2 years? 2 years stepping in, playing in front of big crowds, large crowds. So that's one guy. He's like, look, I ain't got stepping inside of a stadium with a bunch of people who don't like me, don't bother me at all. Then you look at Will Anderson Jr., played in the SEC, played for one of the most hated teams in America, because either you love Alabama and you root for them, or you hate Alabama and you root against them. So, and you step into these places where, the crowds just hate you. These crowds hate you, and you just block out that noise because you know that you're there to do a job. So when I look at these players like a CJ Stroud, when I look at these players like a Will Anderson Jr., Tank plays with a huge chip on his shoulder because nobody believed in him, no matter what numbers he put up coming out of U of H, and he put up some damn good numbers. He still plays with that chip on his shoulder because they told him he was too small to play in the NFL. Everybody thought Nico was going to be a bust because he wasn't healthy. You see what I'm saying? Stephon Diggs is trying to, and I know Stephon Diggs isn't a young guy, but he rubs off on these young guys as far as being in Minnesota, being in Buffalo, and that stigma behind him. He helps lead that group. And so when you look at that young core, and then you look at that older group, like I said, with a Stephon Diggs, a Danielle Hunter, Azeez Al-Shaair, we're talking about an undrafted guy who, I mean, before we even start about being undrafted, we're talking about a young man who was homeless for many years during his upbringing. So he had to survive that. Then he went and played college football and didn't get drafted. And then he had to survive that. But the one thing that he's able to do, the one thing that he enjoys doing is playing for a head coach who wanted him. Started when DeMeco Ryans wanted him in San Francisco. So as I digress, that room has probably the same attitude like the Kansas City Chiefs. They move and operate, their mindset like we can beat anybody on any given day as well. Now they know that they can be beat, but Kansas City goes into every game thinking, yeah, we're going to win this because we got Patrick Mahomes. And the Houston Texans go into every game thinking we're going to win because we got CJ Stroud. Speaking of CJ Stroud, Coty, why do some of these people keep thinking that CJ is going to have a sophomore slump?
I look at it like this. Some of the people who think CJ is going to have a sophomore slump, I think it's their way of saying they need to see it again, plain and simple. Because what that young man did last year, and I get it, because CJ has really became one of my favorite athletes when I could say this. He wasn't supposed to be this good, this fast. The Houston Texans were not supposed to be this good, this fast.
Hold on. Especially after what we went through in those 3 years watching this franchise. Like, look, you know how you say, normally people be like, oh man, they was just staying afloat. No, this team was drowning.
No, this is beyond drowning.
And look, people that threw a life raft in there, they threw a rope in there, they couldn't even grab that. They were
steady. They were steady sinking. But
hold on, wait. Especially when your granddaddy was the coach. But go ahead.
No, honestly, especially when Lovie Smith was the coach. Hey, I tell people this all the time. I don't care what you say about David Culley. He won 4 games. Lovie Smith won 3. In the all-time record book, he gonna always be ahead of one person. And you're looking at a coach who was supposed to go 0-17. That's all I gotta say.
We were looking at a coach who, after the first practice, said, I was looking for the head coach to come up and start talking, and then I realized it was me.
You can't improve? He can't improve? That was in July.
Hey, really? So what is more important than the football?
The football. It is.
My bad, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm just saying, yeah.
No, you good. But, when I see people, talk about the possibility of CJ having a sophomore slump, I just say that's their way of saying that he got to prove it again. And, I will agree to that statement that he has to prove it again, because at the end of the day, if we keeping it 100, CJ Stroud had one of the best all-time seasons for a rookie quarterback. I mean, the things that young man did starting the second half against the Indianapolis Colts all the way until the season was over against the Baltimore Ravens. And
he missed 2 games.
And he missed 2 games. So you look at it from a standpoint, if he doesn't miss those 2 games, and if the Houston Texans were more healthy taking on the Baltimore Ravens in that divisional round playoff game. And shout out to my co-host and good friend John Hickman, who always said this every time we talked about that playoff game, was the fact that, man, if CJ had 1, maybe 2 more weapons, i.e. Tank Dell, not going to say that they would have, came away victorious in that game, but they would have made their playoff game against the Ravens a lot more competitive. I say all that just to say, when you look at everything CJ did in year 1, especially knowing that he wasn't supposed to be this good, this goddamn fast, I would say this. I don't get the sense that CJ is going to have a sophomore slump. Watching him, because I had an opportunity to watch him doing training camp and OTAs. And even in the few snaps that I seen him play in preseason, I said to myself, that young man is still going to be good. And Sarge, kudos to you for pointing out how, you had an opportunity to talk to Bobby Slowick, and Bobby Slowick was talking about how he challenged CJ to, don't take your first or your second. You got to go to your third, sometimes your fourth read. And remember, I love that statement so much, because at the start of training camp, we was like, man, CJ still, like, why is he holding the ball so long? Like, that's not going to be good. And for the Houston Texans coaching staff, especially Bobby Slowick, to be smart enough and say, look, I want to challenge this young man, for him to go to have him to take away his first and his second, and your first target has to be your third read, sometime your fourth. All that did was made him a lot more better, a lot more smarter, a lot more quicker, and that's just going to make him a lot more better, a lot more smarter, a lot more quicker in the regular season, especially knowing that when you look at the Houston Texans schedule, especially when you take a look at the back half of the second half of the season, you're looking at it from a standpoint, this young man is just going to continue to get better. Now, I'm not about to sit here and say he about to go out there and throw for 6,000 yards or something like that, but I don't see a sophomore slump coming. I really don't. I really don't. And to your point that you made earlier, not only has he gotten better, not only has his demeanor of being great is still there, the young man also has better weapons.
Yeah. Nick went out and, Nick rewarded him. He's like, look, I know you used to, I know you used to eating top ramen. I got that. You made a meal out of some top ramen and some baked beans last year. This year, we're gonna make sure we get you a little bit more. You're gonna get some summer sausage. No, but look, but for real though, I like what Nick was able to do to go out there and get him some extra weapons. And one thing that I liked about what Bobby Slowick did as well is it didn't speed CJ up. I think it made him see the field more clear, because you think about it, man. I mean, a lot of times his first option is the first option is open all the time. And coming out of college, playing with the wide receivers that he played with, and especially with the offensive line that he had all day, so he could go through his progressions. And so last season, as a rookie, there's so much going on. So yes, you do want him to bam. And even, like Bobby said on yesterday, it's his job to get the first option open every time. That's his job. And so, but he said the first option is open. And that's what I like about it. And Coty, tell me if you think I'm on to something right here. Last year, the first option would be Nico, and when Tank was healthy, the second option would be Tank. Nico, Tank, and then you got Dawson, of course, right? And then Tank goes down, so now you got Nico, but Nico missed some games as well. But you got Nico, then you got to look at Robert Woods, you got to look at Noah Brown at the time, and he also played. Mitch got some run, Hutch got some run. So, and this is where, because Bobby to me is a football savant. Like his mind constantly turns and just thinks about football all the time. Do you think, tell me if I'm on to something or not, do you think that he also made him do that as far as going through all his reads, because the amount of weapons that he has on the field and the amount of touches that he wants to get these other wide receivers?
I think so, because think about it. Everyone knows, it doesn't take a genius to realize once CJ Stroud take that snap Sunday against the Colts and whoever, for the rest of the season, your tie for number one targets are going to be Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins. However, knowing that he challenged them, don't go to those three guys, go to these other guys like a Hutchinson, like a John Mechie, who I consider both of those guys one of, if not this team's biggest X factor for this entire season, then that's just going to add to the amount of weapons that CJ is going to have to utilize, and add to the point that the Houston Texans are going to have an opportunity to make sure that they use every single weapon to get to where they want to go. And that's a really good observation, because ever since the Houston Texans landed Stephon Diggs, ever since we saw that Tank Dell not only came back healthy, but looked better than what he did last year,
right?
And even going throughout training camp, and I know there was a moment, especially when you look at John Mechie, there was a moment where you were scratching your head, man, I don't know what's going on with John, but at the end of training camp, at the end of preseason, looking at how both of those guys came along, when I say both of those guys, I'm talking about Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie, you're looking at it from a situation, forget top three, you're looking at a situation where CJ Stroud literally has five great options to choose from in that wide receiver room. Plain and simple, man.
You know what was wrong with Mitchie.
Yeah, I know. But I would just, no, you ain't got to tell me, because we already talked about it.
No, because he your goat.
On the show. You already addressed it on the show, but I was just saying, I do love the fact that that does seem like a moment for Bobby Sawyer, and not just for CJ, for Bobby Sawyer himself, because that extra time gave him opportunity. Hey, maybe if I put this guy on the outside, rather put him in the slot, or maybe I could put him in the slot other than put him outside, or maybe I could do one of those trick plays or whatever that we see them doing, a little bit more often these days. It just seems like that was another element to it, and that's another reason why I look at the Houston Texans and I look at the Houston Texans offense, and I say to myself, this team can be no worse than the third best offensive team for this upcoming season.
And I look at it like this too. I was talking to DJ Bieneme from ESPN, and I told him, I've said this before, but I was talking to him about it today. When you look at this matchup this week against the Indianapolis Colts and that defense, and we've already talked about Buckner, we already talked about Stewart, and then earlier I talked about the linebackers, Zaire Franklin and the EJ Speed. The one thing that Speed and Franklin does, they're very aggressive, and they're very aggressive coming downhill. Like, there is no fear in them when they're coming downhill. You got they're violent too. They remind me a lot of when Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith was together last year with the Baltimore Ravens. But the one thing that they're not as efficient on, pass coverage. And what I was telling DJ today is, if I'm Bobby, I'm coming out, I may do, one run play, maybe 2 run plays, see how many yards we get. If we get a first down or we don't get a first down, okay, cool. That second, if we get a first down, or if not, and you have to run that coming out of that second offensive series, hey, y'all gonna have to prove to me that y'all learn how to cover, because I'm gonna put you in so many situations. Because what's gonna happen when I got Tank on one side, Tank, and then Dalton at the tight end position, and then I got Nico and Stephon lined up on the same side over here, right? And now I motion Joe Mixon out of the backfield. Hey, guess what that has to do? All I need is them to take care of these 2 defensive tackles for take care of these 2 defensive tackles for 3 to 5 seconds. Not even 5 seconds. CJ really only needs 3 seconds. Because in that 3 seconds, he drops back. He knows where everybody's supposed to be. Now, those 2 linebackers, you keep them and you hold them at bay. And so even if you go pass plays for 3 straight plays, what that does to a defensive coordinator and what that does to these linebackers is you make them have to think. And when you make them have to think, now they're like, okay, I see what they're doing. Now you show them the same thing coming out of the huddle, and they say, okay, cool. All right, they're about to pass. So now I gotta stay here, and then you hand the ball off. Or you play action fake. So I think that if he puts them into a position where they're constantly dropping, or they're constantly have to make sure they got somebody here and somebody here, because we talked about everybody, but Dalton Schultz is like, you put him in the middle of the field, he's gonna sit down in the soft spot. Wherever the soft spot is, he's gonna sit down right there, and he may drop 1 or 2, but he gonna catch the next 7. Right? Because, man, listen, I be like, sometimes Dalton got the dropsies for real, and then he'll come back and make it up. Like, was it in an Atlanta game where he dropped like 1 or 2 easy,
and then he ended up
when they needed him,
the game winner with a potential game winner?
Yes. And so that's all I'm saying, is that I think that they can put the pressure on EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin at that linebacker position and just hold them. Because Bobby, I'm pretty sure Bobby is already thinking of a way, because also, hey, you keep coming down. Now you inching up further and further. And now as soon as you do that, I'm going to shoot my receivers right behind because they don't have good defensive backs. Their defensive backs, like,
I ran across a stat last year. They gave up like an average of like 7 to 8 yards per pass attempt.
Well, they gave up 75 to Nico in the first play.
One play, the very first play. which I think is one of my all-time favorite moments of that franchise because that was crazy.
Right. So, Coty, now that I have you here, man, I haven't gotten an opportunity to talk with you about that. And for those of you all who are just joining the Sports Talk with Big Sarge show live on YouTube at the Texans Happy Hour, I have one half of Locked On Texans, Coty M. Davis. You see, I did that.
That's fine. I'll prove my point. What should I tell you?
Yeah, hey, show
we got an inside joke coming. I'm gonna prove it. I'm gonna prove it for real.
Of course, because the Lions and the Texans play.
Yeah,
so
I know, but unfortunately, one, I'm not using that game. I can't use that game because
the Rockets will be playing the Rockets playing
playing the Pistons
that same day.
The same day. They got the afternoon game, then you got the nightcap. But
right,
I'm gonna prove my point.
And so, but this is the first time that I've gotten the opportunity to ask you this. And I know that you and John have discussed it before. And every time you all went to discuss it, I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to hear because I've never gotten a chance to ask you this. There's so much hype behind the Houston Texans and what they have this year. What are some of the negatives?
The biggest negative to me, starting probably at the top, well, one, health right now. I do hate knowing that they're going into the season without Christian Harris. And, I've always been a believer in Henry To'oTo'o and, watching his development during training camp and, Sarge, you did a really good job, painting that picture of how much he's learning from Aziz. And you can also see that Aziz's teaching is also showing in his development as well. I think that Henry T is definitely going to be one of the guys when we look back in this 2024 season. We saying to ourselves, he definitely made a major leap for this whole entire year. However, I just look at it from a standpoint, especially now because I'm more concerned about it. How much will this injury hamper Christian Harris? And if Christian Harris is out longer than the 4 games that he is scheduled to miss as of right now, then the next issue is going to be, okay, when is he going to be back? And then how much of some of the quote unquote struggles we're going to see, some of the normal struggles we see out of any player, how much is that going to take place when you really going to need him towards the back half of this upcoming season? But, so injuries is always at the top of my list. But I will say Sarge is the secondary. Put it like this. I know when they first drafted him, I wasn't that much of a believer of Kellen Bullock, but he made a believer out of me, I must say. And now I am comfortable knowing that he's going to start opposite Jimmy Ward come week 1 of the regular season. But at the same time, I look at it from a standpoint. And matter of fact, this isn't just for the secondary. This probably goes for several positions. Is this team a little bit too top heavy at several positions?
See, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm thinking about the depth because they have
like starters, you're good. Even your first backup option, you're good. Yeah. But after that, like, for example, the offensive line, like, no disrespect to Blake Fisher. You know me, I'm always going to give a young prospect what we always say, me, you, DJ, Jonathan, John, B. Scott, which we all, probably the only thing we all agree on. When it comes to a young prospect, you got to give them at least 3 years to showcase what they're going to be in this league.
Unless you're DJ.
Well, sometimes you just need what? About 6 quarters. Then you're a demigod already.
Right.
But, and I'm using Blake Fisher for example because Blake Fisher's still going through this learning period. However, if something happens to Laramie or Titus Howard, knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen, and they're starting Blake Fisher, I'm not confident in Blake Fisher, utilizing those snaps. And I know some people are going to look at it and be like, well, he's a backup. Put it like this. One of the best moves that Nick Caserio did last year was bringing in George Fant. Yes. I didn't know what to expect out of George Fant, but after Titus Howard kept going down, and then unfortunately he finally went down with, I think it was the knee injury during I think it was week 6 or week 7 during the regular season. George Fant did a phenomenal job in filling in that vacancy.
Our guy.
And I know, right? That was my boy right there. But, and I just look at somebody like a George Fant, even Noah Brown to a certain extent, which, of course, this is not an issue with that wide receiving core. But it's just like I just felt that that the Texans were more better equipped to handle injuries last year, or if certain things come about where a player cannot play, whether it's a game or two, or unfortunately a little bit longer. It's like I just look at them this year. There's a part of me thinking they're a little bit too top heavy, because offensive line, linebacker, as of right now, hopefully I'm wrong about it, the entire secondary. I want to say the running back room as well. However, Cam Akers did kind of change my perspective on how I feel about the potential running back 2 or potential running back 3. Don't know. I'm really interested to see how Coach DeMeco Ryans and Bobby Sloyd kind of like flip those two. But outside of wide receiver, every other position, I'm like, I don't think the depth is there.
Wait, wide receiver and tight end.
Yeah, and tight end. Thank you for that. Wide receiver and tight end, and I guess you could add quarterback in there as well. But it's like outside of those 2-3 positions, everywhere else, I'm like, I don't think they had the depth to sustain, a potential injury, or if a player isn't performing like we hope. I mean, look, the running back unit. I mean, unfortunately, Dameon Pierce did not have the year that we thought. However, you had the depth back there with Devin Singletary, and look what Devin Singletary was able to do, keeping that rushing attack afloat. Now it's like, okay, if Joe Mixon can't get the job done, or he got to sit out a couple games, who's going to be RB number 2? Is your face still there in Dameon Pierce? Cam Akers looked good in preseason. Cam Akers looked good during the back half of training camp. But now he's going up against some of the opposing team's top players. There's no more of the second, third, practice squad players. No, he's going up against some of the top players on the opposite side of that line of scrimmage. Can he still showcase that same promise and give this team that same production that we saw throughout the preseason? That's basically my biggest and possibly my only concern that I have about this team, is that the fact that they might be a little bit too top heavy for my liking.
So, and you know what? Because that's exactly what I was going to say. I watching them, and especially, during training camp, when you're watching the backups, come in and play, and it was like, they're talented, but there's a drop in talent, and you can tell. There's a drop in talent that you could tell in certain positions. And then watching the preseason games outside of, and I will say this, excuse me, a lot of the backups did, a lot of the reserves did a great job in that New York Giants game. Like they did a really good job in that New York Giants game. And so that's it for me too, Cody. But I will say this, right? One thing that I will say, and that I have to give Nick Caserio credit for, is, so Nick Caserio is, how can I put this? There's always a substitute dish, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
So if you at a cookout and they run out of brisket, hey, don't worry about it. We made extra sausage, so here goes some sausage. Or you run out of sausage, hey, don't worry, we made extra chicken, or we got extra ribs. Like, he always finds a way to, if you don't have this, don't worry, he can bring this into it and satisfy everybody until it's time to go out and till you make more brisket, till you barbecue more brisket, or if you may be without it. But I'm saying, as I digress, what I'm saying is that I like the fact that he's constantly looking.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's constantly looking, because if you and I can see that, that he's already 2-3 steps ahead of us, saying, okay, this is what we need. This is what we need. We know that we need this. We know that we need that. We know. He's also scouring, looking at other people's practice squads. He's looking at the players that are still out there. That's the players that may be able to come in and step in. But then again, Cody, sometimes those players, like, I'm going to use a player like Jeff Okudah, right? And how he hasn't, some would say he hasn't lived up to what they expected.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, but he's also been in some very bad situations, and he's at it. So for me, the X factor in this whole thing is the fact that DeMeco Ryans is the coach. Like, I always default to that. Hey, no matter what, DeMeco's the coach, and DeMeco is one of those guys that can coach you up. And so
Yes.
I feel like, if I'm looking at some of these guys who came in taking a bunch of, second team reps, a bunch of third team reps, well, what are they going to look like if something happens and they get to step up with the first team? Right?
Mhm.
So what if Blake Fisher never really had an opportunity to really play with CJ and at that time? And so, like, what if he steps into that huddle and he's like, because CJ got a way of making you believe, and he's like, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. I mean, even what's his name? Nick Brocker?
Nick
Broker. Yeah.
I like how you talk about how CJ has a way to make you believe, and it brought me to one of my favorite moments of last year, possibly definitely the game when everybody knew CJ was him, was when his first career game-winning drive against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I remember
Yes, he is.
I remember later on in the week I had an opportunity to talk to my guy Shaq Griffin. And Griffin was telling me the story how, because if you remember, the Houston Texans were up, then they gave a late touchdown. I forgot who scored the late touchdown. That Baker Mayfield, huh?
Are you talking against the Bucks?
Yeah, against the Bucks. Yeah. And remember, the Houston Texans were up, and Baker Mayfield, I forgot who he had connected with in the end zone with 43 seconds left. And Shaq Griffin was like, when they came off the field, they were all like heartbroken, like, damn, we lost, like we gave it up. Yeah. And he said when they were standing on the side, they said right before CJ took the field after kickoff, CJ said, "Don't worry about it, I got y'all," and put his helmet on, and then boom. And the reason why I brought that up is because Shaq said, for some reason, now you looking at Shaq Griffin, I know Russell Wilson is a butt of almost everybody's jokes in today's NFL. About 10 years ago,
Mr. Sierra, that's what I call him. But go ahead.
About 10 years ago, Russell Wilson was a bad man in Seattle. And he said that he saw Russell Wilson say the same thing and used to lead the Seahawks to game-winning drives like that. And he said when he heard CJ Stroud say that, he said for some reason, he believed that the Houston Texans wasn't going to lose that game. And they ended up winning, and we all know the magic that CJ Stroud created. So I only shared.
Cody, he did that also against Cincinnati. You remember they would?
Now you know about that story.
Yeah, he threw that interception. They scored, and he went over to D'Amico. He said, "Hey, don't worry about it. I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it." And they went and they won the game.
That's crazy. So, the reason why we shared those stories is because, we just showcasing how CJ Stroud is one of those guys that, he could use his words and he uses action to show you that, everything's going to be all right, when you're going to have these opportunities. And I'm glad that you talked about and you pointed out Coach DeMeco Ryans' teachings, because that is basically what made Coach DeMeco Ryans one of this league's most prominent coaches. As I had an opportunity to, do a feature story on, Coach DeMeco Ryans, the 3 layers that basically made him help turn this franchise around. And one of the layers that I got a lot of information on was his teaching ability, his love for teaching, something that Christian Harris said, and we saw the leap that Christian Harris took during the second half of that season. All of that, majority of that came from Coach DeMeco Ryans' teaching. Had an opportunity to talk to Aziz. Every time we talk to Aziz, talking about him going from undrafted to the big money he is now making with the Houston Texans, what is something he always credit? Coach DeMeco Ryans' teaching. Kareem Jackson. Kareem said back at when he was in Alabama, Coach DeMeco Ryans, even back then as an as a Pro Bowl linebacker for the Houston Texans, was going back to Alabama to start his quote unquote teaching foundation. Like, Coach DeMeco Ryans is a coach who loved to teach. And Sarge, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm starting to get a sense DeMeco always is going to find a way to pull the best out of his players. But he's not going to pull the best out of his players just to help you win a Week 8 contest against the New Orleans Saints. No, he's going to pull the best out of you and show you in a way to where that teaching is going to be the foundation as to why you succeed in this league.
And let me tell you, one thing that I've noticed about him, and I got a chance to speak with him as well, but one thing that he's been echoing in a lot of his interviews in a lot of his interviews. So you talked about him pouring back into the players on last year, teaching. So what he's doing this year, he's gotten, he's taking that a step above. He said, I poured so much into the players that I didn't neglect my coaches, but I could have done a better job. So this year he said, I'm doing a better job of pouring back into my coaches, my coaching staff. Now, if you got the players on this track, and now you can get the coaches, make sure that they're on the track, because they of course they all bought in. So you got the players to buy in, you got the players to buy in, you got the coaches to buy in. Like that kind of makes DeMeco's job like a whole lot easier. Because now he doesn't have to, only thing he has to do is delegate. So even though, because when you go talk to, what's the cornerbacks coach? Dino Vasso. Yeah, you go talk to him, if the cornerbacks go talk to him, they should be able to hear DeMeco, through him. Hey, he sounds just like coach. Or when they go to speak to Steven Adegoji, the safeties coach, or they go speak to the defensive coordinator, Matt Burke, or they go speak to Ben McDaniels, the wide receivers coach. Like they should be able to hear. And I think what he wants to do is bring those coaches closer and make sure that we're all on the same page, because I got the players bought in. I want to make sure that y'all are bought in. And now we're able to do this thing. I like the fact that, and even if I'm going to look past this year, I don't know they haven't even played a regular season game. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't know what kind of conversation we'll be having by the end of the season. We could be saying, man, that's one of the best seasons I've seen in Texans history. Or we could be saying, man, that's a disappointment, because we don't know. It's the unknown. But I think, and when I look at this organization, when I look at this franchise, I look at it and I say, okay, they had success last year. But I don't think that DeMeco is just building this franchise for 1 year success. I think he's looking at a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's looking at a team like what the New England Patriots had, some of those other teams in the past have had, and what they've done to sustain. He's playing the long game. So he's playing the long game. So he's like, yo, what can I do to sustain this? I don't want short-term success. I don't want that I don't want to look, I don't want a quickie. I don't want a one-night stand. I want a committed relationship. I want to be in a committed relationship. I'm not just trying to hit it and quit it. No, I'm trying to put a ring on that thing. Hey, Cody, look, man. Before I let you go, right? Before I let you go, I got two more things I want to talk to you about. One, this is a side note. Hey, man. The Rockets gonna have a better season than the Pistons, right?
I mean, breaking news.
Corporate Cody Davis. Yeah, put you on the spot. Yeah, corporate. Let me hear. Let me hear.
Hey, come man. On. Like I say, when it comes to the Detroit Pistons, I look at them and I just think that their season is going to mirror what the Houston Rockets did last year. I mean, they already, and when I say mirror, I'm not talking about winning 41 games, which George tell that when it came in March, and somebody turned it to Michael Jordan in March, and we all know why. So I would just leave that like that.
Oh, so now you're trying to start fights now.
I'm not trying to start fights. I'm not trying to start a fight with nothing. I'm just saying the Rockies really installed. What's that song Paul Wall and them had? Taking off like a rocket. You remember that? Like the fuse. And there was a part of that. I hated that song, by the way. But there was a part of that song that was like taking off.
You're not good at hip hop.
But what I'm talking about? It was like taking off like a rocket or whatever. Look, they took off in a rocket in March when someone finally was, had an opportunity to, do what they was originally bought here for, with the number 2 overall pick. That's all I'm going to say. But, in all honesty, man, I just think the Detroit Pistons, man, this is going to be a year from the outside looking in, because I'm not in yet, but from the outside looking in, just looking at, the veterans that they brought in, and then looking at the fact that they got a new voice on that sideline, I think that's definitely going to help that organization. And Sarge, me, I've always said this. At first, I was one of the ones, veterans, blah, 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 blah. But literally after watching the Rockets and the Texans rebuild, and to know it takes more than just getting young, great, good, potential great players on your staff. Like you're going to need those veterans. And I think adding the veterans that the Pistons added this offseason is going to help that team finally take a step forward. So yeah,
that's enough Pistons talk. I was just trying to help you get ready for your radio hits that you have.
You gotta help me get ready,
because I mean, you look at the Houston Rockets and my guy, you know who my guy is.
No, which one? You got several in the locker room.
Hey, my guy who been working out with KD a lot. My guy who went to the Olympic trial, went down and worked out with the Olympic team. He was on that select team. A guy
he gonna be ready. He gonna be ready. He definitely gonna be ready. I will say.
So, and you and I have talked about this on the side, and I brought up the Rockets. I brought up the Pistons because I'm proud of you, man. I'm telling you in front of everybody, I'm proud of you. But I brought up the Rockets because we'll be talking about the Rockets here on Sports Talk with Big Sarge live on YouTube as well.
You still gonna have me?
Yeah, I have you on. I don't have no problem with that.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying.
When I have you on, we'll talk NBA.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because, side note. Like you and I talked about the other day, we're going to talk. We won't have to just talk about the Rockets and the Pistons. We'll talk about how, this Memphis team, my God, this Memphis Grizzlies team coming back.
Man.
Ja gonna be in there. Pop, 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 pop.
Hey man, I think Ja's gonna take that next step next year,
bro. And he gonna be the first one. He gonna dunk on Victor straight up.
He basically already did this past year.
He gonna dunk on him straight up.
And he sat back, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna see come media day. We're gonna see that same quote that we always see: somebody that missed the majority, if not all, of the previous season. Yeah, I kept all the receipts. And he gonna be one that he. I ain't want to do all that, but
hey. I'm going to tell you like this, and then, like I said, I got one more thing for you, and then I'm going to let you go because we got to get ready to watch football. And I'm pretty sure my wife has already set everything up. She like, tick-tock, mister. Hey, Cody, but I will say this. This is what I love about the NBA. The one driving force that's going to make Ja Morant act right and finally play up to his potential without all the distractions?
D-Rose?
The fact that Anthony Edwards has become the face of the NBA.
Yeah.
Ja not gonna like that. Now I'm not saying that they don't like each other, but they're competitors. And now that Anthony Edwards, with everything that he did last season and what he did in the Olympics, like he's the hot name. Remember at one point before Ja decided to go to the strip club and before he decided to go beat up little kids
allegedly.
I'm sorry, beat up little kids in front of his house, allegedly, and then go to the Foot Locker because they didn't know who his mama was, allegedly. But he's sitting back and he's looking at that. Remember, he was Anthony Edwards.
Yeah,
he was becoming the face of the league. He had his signature shoe. Everybody loved Ja Morant, and then he lost it all, and now he's lost that spot to Anthony Edwards. And with Anthony Edwards doing what he's doing, you're looking like you're on the outside looking in. So that I'm pretty sure that's going to fuel him and say, "Hey, man, he got to play, man. He got to play better, and he got to get Usher Raymond Jr. off the sideline too."
That is true. that our other PCB brother just randomly. I guess they best friends now. He interviewed them like 3-4 times.
Hey, you know what's so crazy? You remember they were talking about this a bit of fake Usher on stage in some of these concerts? You think that was his daddy?
I mean, probably.
7 o'clock on the dot. I'm in my drop top. All right, Cody, before you get up out of here, man. One, who do you have winning the game on Sunday between the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts?
Like I mentioned, I think it's going to be, it's not going to be the best game from both, but I do have the Houston Texans winning. I think 21-17, I think is going to be a close one.
And I'm not going to ask you for a prediction as far as wins and losses, but if I read the schedule out to you, or do you know the schedule?
Yeah, just for the most part, I do.
When you're looking at the schedule, what is what is like? Can you think of 3 games? Because I got 3 games that I think that's going to give them problems. Can you think of 3 games?
Yeah, I mean it's the same 3 games. I'm pretty sure everybody have.
Of course you're gonna say the Chiefs and the Ravens because
Yeah,
I'm not
Chiefs and
saying either one of
Ravens.
those.
Oh, really?
Nope.
I would say a part of me wants to say the Lions. Only because I think going into the season, there might be, if not the best team in the NFC, probably no lower than the second best team in the NFC. And the one thing I love about the Texans and Lions, shout out to both of those fan bases, because both fan bases deserve all of the overhype, oversell, however you want to put it. Y'all guys deserve it. But I think the Lions, because they are motivated and to showcase that last year wasn't a fluke, just like the Texans. So I think that's one game. You know what? I'm gonna say Miami due to their explosive offense, and without saying Kansas City or Baltimore, I'm gonna say Green Bay.
You can say one of them.
I'm gonna say Green Bay. Green Bay is another game where I could see them. I could see basically being a problem because Jordan Love, just like CJ, and I'm guilty for saying this about Jordan Love. I want to see you do it again. I want to see Green Bay. I want to see Green Bay do it again. Can you take that next leap and get to, get the Green Bay back to where they was with Aaron Rodgers and with Brett Favre and stuff? So, outside of those two, I would say those 3 teams right there.
So I was thinking pretty much the same thing because we already know what the game's going to be like between Kansas City, and we already know what the game's going to be like against Kansas City and against Baltimore. Especially they play them in less than 5 days apart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they play one on the 21st of December, then they play the other on the 25th of December.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2 back-to-back games going against 2 dynamic quarterbacks, and what we saw last night with 2 well-coached teams.
Is it just me? But they both of them just look like they got better.
Yes.
I'm looking at Lamar Jackson, like I'm looking at Lamar and I'm like, at what point do your development just stop?
Right. And they said Lamar lost weight, so
he looks quicker. Oh my God.
Well, he's gonna have to be something because they got that slow running back. You know what? I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it because Derrick Henry will beat me into submission, and I would let him because I got an attorney.
You gonna cry and boo-boo on yourself?
What? All of that. Look, and I hope I have on short so I got right down the back of my leg. Hey, that's more money in the lawsuit. They gonna take pictures. I'm gonna be like, he literally beat the shit out of him. I'll be like, I need an extra $2 million for that. Now I can't control my bowels. I got PTSD every time I got a boo-boo. Like every time my stomach hurt. Oh, dang, here we go.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, look. Hey, you remember Boondocks? I think I just shit my pants.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be me in court.
That's what he was singing. Like, no, you know what? I ain't about to sing that song. I just remember he was mopping.
I'll be like, yeah, I can't even control it right now. I think I just my pants.
That's actually one of my favorite scenes. I was about to sing the song, but I'm like, nah, I shouldn't sing that song.
But who I'm going to say is I think they're going to have trouble with the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're going to have trouble the second time around with the Colts. Because if the Colts stay healthy, by the time they come around, Anthony Richardson and Adonai Mitchell should be on the same page. Mm-hmm. You already got Jonathan Taylor. And so, right? I mean, Cody, did you realize that in the last game they played, he had 30 rushes for 188 yards and he was hurt?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been talking about all week on Locked On Texans.
And he was hurt.
And if it wasn't for 1, maybe 2 mishaps, that game probably would have looked a hell of a lot different for the Texans.
That's exactly what I said today. And for the people who can't do math, I helped him out. He only got 16 100-yard games in his career, right?
Mm-hmm.
4 of those, a quarter of those, have come against the Texans.
I thought you were going to say 12.
But so I think that it's going to be the Packers. I think it's going to be the Packers. I think it's going to be the Colts the second time around. And I think they're going to have issues with the Jets. Because the Jets got a good defense.
Look at that quarterback.
Yeah, but hey, who did D'Amico learn from?
Saleh. You're right.
And so, I mean, and listen, he got listen. D'Amico has a whole lot more. They got a lot of weapons. He got a lot of weapons, but I mean, he basically taught D'Amico that defensive scheme. He definitely knows the holes in it. He knows the ins and the outs of it. And if you still got a functional Brett Favre to go along with Garrett Wilson, like at any time, that's because think about it. He knows how to use the defense to stop somebody, and he also knows the holes in it when he's on offense. So that's why I look at. And not only that, they got to go back to New York and play on a Thursday night
on
in
that
October on that field.
I didn't think about that.
We don't know what the weather conditions are going to be like. Ain't that where CJ got hurt?
That's why everybody got hurt. CJ Will, I think Grenard, Blake Cash, like everybody got hurt.
Did Nico get hurt in that game too?
Yeah, right after he reached 1K, he went down with an ankle injury. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So you see what I'm saying? So that's why.
I don't know what's going on at MetLife Stadium.
Right, there's a lot of facts. But what the weird part about it is it was raining, it was cold, everybody got hurt in that game between the Texans and the Jets, right? So my wife and I stayed up there because she was like, hey, the Packers are coming in town to play the Giants. So let's just go ahead and stay so I could watch the Packers play. So we went to watch them play. It was cold, but that was it. And nobody got hurt. And I said to myself, this can't possibly be the same field that I just watched 4 or 5 Houston Texans players go down on. But
maybe it's because it was raining. Because that turf always had questions surrounding it.
Jonathan Grenard says it's like playing on concrete.
That's bad.
He said it's like playing on concrete. What's his name that's with the Cincinnati Bengals now? The defensive tackle that we talk to all the time, Sheldon
Rankins. Yeah.
He said, Sarge, that turf so bad you can barely find the right shoes to have on. And he said, and even if you do, you might have to keep switching them out because you're just gonna keep slipping. So, like I said, I got them having trouble with the Packers. I got them having trouble, and this is outside of the other games that we talk about. The Packers, the Colts the second time around, and the Jets. And so, Cody, I know we got to get ready to get up out of here, man. Hold on, let me just put something up there. You can tell me that'll probably make me believe too. D'Amico is a Christian and teaching and said to be a spiritual gift. Not everyone has a gift, but D'Amico seems to have it. Right? He kicking Cody to the curb. What up, Cody and Sarge? Hold on, what does this one say? Other teams like the Chiefs are starting their rookie offensive tackles. Ours are still backups. Okay, that goes to the depth. I think this is when we were talking about Will Anderson, Daniel Run versus an upgraded. Hold on. H-Town Talk say he just landed in Indy. Hey, I'll be there tomorrow. Let's see. This season's going to be so much fun, and I'm so ready. It is going to be a fun season, though, Cody.
I know, right?
It's going to be a fun season. I can't wait to be in that locker room. I'm going to be like, you not here. Not only has he been making quick read decisions, but he's been doing it against our defense all preseason long. So,
yeah, I like that point.
Yeah.
And it was early at one point in the preseason.
Yeah.
Will, Hunter, Hughes, Autry before he got suspended, they was going at them.
Bro.
How many times we left for training camp? What was another day for the defense?
hey, but wait. To the offenses. The offense's credit, they didn't have their full offensive line.
Yeah, you're right. Which brings me back to my point. At death. We shall see, though, man.
Yeah, because I know you waiting for Patterson to come in. All right, Cody, tell the people where they can find you at, man. Tell them where they can listen to the podcast.
You can listen to Locked On Texans on all your favorite podcast streaming services, and of course on YouTube. Please subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Coty Davis _24. That's Cody COTY DAVIS _24.
Hey, what is say in your profile now? In your Twitter profile?
Hey, say Pistons beat writer at the Detroit News. It's don't get me wrong. Some of my followers always making fun. They like, I got to get it in my head that when you tweeting stuff now, it's not about the Texans or Rockets anymore. You know, it's about the Pistons. And
Hey, tell them no worry. I tell them I got them. Tell them
definitely.
they can follow me.
You got them.
And tell them I got they back. Because when I see you post about that, I'm bad. Don't nobody want to read that shit.
Boo.
Boo. Hey, wasn't that an episode of Boondocks 2 when he kept boo? Remember Riley kept booing somebody.
That's another Riley booed Huey when Huey stood up in court and was asking people to stop the dancing and stop the singing. He was like,
about R. Kelly.
Yeah, he was like, boo, turn the music back on.
Hey, that's what I'm gonna do to you. And, hey, make sure to follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports with a Z at the end. Make sure you follow me on the Tick and the Talk at Big Sarge Media. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Big Sarge Media, and make sure you're reading all my articles at www.bigsargemedia.com. Cody, you still remember how to do it?
Yeah, of course.
Hard work. Hard work. Hard work. Hard work. Hard work.